I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second. You have to look at the age of 21 for certain types of weapons. I mean, some people aren't going to like that, but you're going to have to look at that very seriously.
Well, he looked at Pat Toomey at one point, and Pat Toomey, who did the bill with Manchin, that's being proposed, and Toomey says, well, that's not in our bill. And the president says, well, you know why? Because you're afraid of the NRA. I was just stunning. He also added that he wanted to strengthen background checks for gun buyers. That's fine. And the problem is those policies have been fiercely opposed by the NRA and other advocates that he said he was standing with on most issues. A little bit confusing. And joining us now to discuss this and a lot more, Jeff Sessions' fallout, is Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis and Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume. It is so great to have both of you on the show. Brit, I don't think you've been on the Ingraham Angle before, unless I'm really losing my mind. So thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I have. It's not my first time, Laura. I've been on your show before.
Okay, that's right. You were here in studio with me. Thank you very much. Brit, what about this Trump bipartisan meeting today? Had the cameras pulled in. It was interesting. He was sitting next to Dianne Feinstein. And you had Manchin and Toomey there who had come up with some interesting legislation. And then the president kind of hits Toomey and says, well, you're afraid of the NRA. And I don't think Toomey seems to be afraid of the NRA on most any issue that I know of.
I think that's right. And Toomey had, I don't remember the exact words, but Toomey had a pretty good comeback. So, you know, it'll go in the books as president attacking Republican senator. But I think it was something the world will little note nor long remember.
Ron, Congressman DeSantis, on this issue of this meeting today at the White House, I mean, Twitter blew up, social media blew up, because people watching this didn't know what the president was advocating or saying. And at one point, Dianne Feinstein said, well, what are we going to do about these weapons of war? And he basically seemed to say, well, we should look at that, too, as in, you know, either maybe an all-out ban. It was just very difficult to follow, but she seemed to be kind of rubbing her hands together, saying, oh, goody. Now, maybe this was all just a show, but, and I know, you know, you and I are big fans of the president, but this was a wild thing. I mean, it was not cool for a lot of people who believe in the Second Amendment.
Well, I think the overall debate, not just with that meeting, but since this has happened, you have an instance in which the authorities had dozens of calls and visits to this shooter's home. People in the school knew that this was somebody who had serious problems. Obviously, he got kicked out of the school. So you had all these red flags. And, of course, the FBI was given a specific tip that he was going to commit a school shooting, and yet they fell down on the job. That is the number one issue that comes out of this. And then I think there are obvious things that we should be doing on a state and local level to harden the schools, to provide more visible security, and to deal with the mental health issues. I mean, all that stuff can be dealt with. I think you could get really good, even bipartisan support. I think when you start going into waters that Dianne Feinstein wants to go down, that is just not going to, that dog's not going to hunt in the Congress.
Yeah, well, every time you take the guns and then go to the court later, I wasn't following any of that. But we have to get to the bad blood between Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, and Donald Trump. This continues, and I know, Britt, you tweeted about it today. And so did the president. The president started by saying, why is AG Jeff Sessions asking the inspector general to investigate potentially massive FISA abuse? Will take forever, has no prosecutorial power, and already late with reports on Comey. Isn't the IG an Obama guy? Why not use Justice Department lawyers? Disgraceful. And Britt, you said this is Trump at his worst. He's asking the DOJ to investigate itself. The inspector general has his own staff of lawyers, investigators, et cetera. Britt, let's go to you first on this. What's happening here with this continued frustration the president obviously has with the attorney general? And is this wise?
Laura, I think it's fairly simple. I think the president's conception of what an attorney general is supposed to be is to be his political protector, his political and legal protector. And as you and I both know, Laura, that is absolutely not what the Attorney General is supposed to do. He's certainly supposed to advise the President on legal and perhaps in some cases ethical matters, but he is not supposed to run the Justice Department use the Justice Department to run interference politically or legal for the President. And the President has been disappointed from the jump with Sessions because he thought Sessions over there at Justice would be helping him out in dealing with the Russia matter and so on. And Sessions, quite properly in my view, recused himself. And in this instance, quite properly turned to the Inspector General of the Department to investigate alleged misconduct by the Department rather than having Justice Department lawyers investigate the Justice Department. So I think the President is clearly off base here, and I think the nation has been well served by Jeff Sessions, and we all should hope that Sessions will stay on the job regardless of this hazing by the President.
Congressman DeSantis, you also tweeted on this matter, and you seem to disagree on the best way to pursue these FISA abuses.
Well, you're right, Laura. The Inspector General, I mean, he's a fine guy, but he doesn't have any prosecutorial power. He can't hold anyone accountable. He'll take a year and a half to write a report and offer recommendations. And there's a time and a place for that. But from what we've seen over the last 6 or 7 months, just the scores of people who've been demoted or have to leave these agencies, a bunch of different potential offenses ranging from false statements to disclosure of classified information, you need a special counsel who can actually pursue those matters, somebody from outside the Justice Department who's not afraid to upend the apple cart. That's what we need in this situation. The IG just not going to cut it.
When we look
Laura,
go ahead, Brett.
Laura, I was just going to say, if you're looking for a quick investigation that won't take very long, as the Congressman suggests he'd like to see, the last thing on earth you need is another special counsel. They famously take forever. They build up huge staffs, and they run far afield from their original purpose. So I've had constitutional debates about special counsels. I think regardless of that, they're a bad idea anyway, and that the last thing on earth we need is another one of those.
Other than Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, the only other person that has been with President Trump by his side in campaign or governing mode has been Hope Hicks. And today it was announced that she's going to be leaving the White House in the coming weeks. How big of a story is this, Britt? And will that further perhaps destabilize the situation in the West Wing?
Well, I think she's a loss to the President because he trusted her, and by all reports, she was very able, wise, as John Kelly said, beyond her years, and was an effective advisor to him, and I suspect steered him away from his own impulses sometimes and helped to showcase what he did well. So I think she's a loss. I don't think that it is that her departure is any kind of a scandal or reflects badly on her. I suspect she'd had enough. 2 years in that job at her age is a pretty long tour of duty, and I suspect that the opportunities awaiting for her on the outside are extraordinary, and I don't blame her at all for seeking to take someone up on one.
Yeah, and Congressman DeSantis, I'd heard some time ago that she wanted to, move on to something else, and other networks are saying, oh, this is because she had 9 hours of testimony at House Intel, and it was grueling, and the white lies comment, and they're trying to tie this to the recent facts. But I think she was kind of, gearing down months ago, but she stayed on because she wanted to help the president. Your thoughts, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, those are Schiff leaks about her testimony. Take that for what it's worth. She's been with the president from the first day of the campaign. So she's been at this a long time, and it's not an easy job on both the campaign or the White House. So she was very respected, and I think she did a good job for President Trump.
All right, thank you both.